In a message that spent so much time discussing the Antichrist, I want to come back, just with the time remaining, to the much larger idea of Antichrist. We talk about the Antichrist, but what about an Antichrist? It's true this man would be anti-Jesus. Like in much the way that we consider to be anti-something, that he would stand against him. But in the Greek, it's a bit different than the way we use it in the English. It means not so much to stand against, but to stand in place of. It's not so much that the Antichrist hates Jesus. He does. Instead, the Antichrist presents himself to the world as an alternative to Jesus, a replacement savior, an idol, a counterfeit God. Now, you might think that accepting a man as your savior or your God sounds kind of far-fetched and outlandish. In truth, the world accepting the Antichrist as their savior will be a very natural progression for most of humanity. In fact, while most are completely oblivious to this reality, many people today are already worshiping at the altar of a myriad of different types of replacement saviors or antichrists. One of my favorite quotes comes from one of my favorite movies. That's The Usual Suspects. Verbal Kent, one of two characters played by Kevin Spacey, no spoiler alert, he says to the investigator this. He says, "The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist." It's a great quote. And it's true. For so many, their first mistake when it comes to life is that they allow their temporal cares, like what's going on around them, in front of them, in the moment, in this dimension, to blind them, distract them of their eternal reality. And the reason that this is so dangerous is that when it happens, when you lose sight of eternity and get wrapped up in this terrestrial existence, it's then only natural that you'll eventually substitute hell for one that you define. Let me explain what I mean by hell. Like hell, instead of in the eternal context, in the temporal context, hell becomes like the person or thing that you blame for your misery. People, they define hell in all kinds of ways. Some people view poverty or being poor as their hell. Others see being fat as hell, or insignificant, or lonely. In other cases, you'll actually hear people refer to their marriage or their job or their living situation as being what? A living hell. Logically, once you've defined hell, the source of what's making you miserable, many people are then compelled to search for something or someone to save them. That's only logical. If hell is being poor, a job or career or status becomes a savior. If hell is being fat and all the body issues that arise from that, it's only natural that your savior will become a gym or a workout routine or a diet or a healthy lifestyle. If hell is feeling insignificant, or as if your life has little to no purpose, what will your savior be? Well, it'll be a cause to fight for, a hobby to immerse yourself in, a sports team to get behind, a scene to join. In some instances, it'll even be an educational pursuit. That's why 50-year-olds go back to college. If loneliness is your hell, your savior will become a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a significant other, a group of friends. In extreme cases, a pet will become a savior. Again, if you define your living hell as your marriage, divorce becomes your redeemer. An affair, at a minimum, a good reprieve. If it's a job that's the source of your misery, quitting, your remedy. If it's your living situation, anyone that opens their doors to give you an alternative will be seen as a Savior. Oh, you're saving me, brother. Right? It stands to reason saviors logically demand worship. They kind of go hand in hand. They always do. You see, the final step in the progression is that once you've defined hell and pinpointed a Savior, that person or thing will become your Christ, your God, your idol. That person or thing saving you from your misery will occupy the most prominent place in your heart and in your life. They have to. In fact, it's not out of the realm of possibility that all of your time and your energy and your effort and your money end up being given over to the Savior, because you believe that in making such sacrifices, they'll save you from your hell, your misery. Like, what you need to realize this morning is antichrists, anything or anyone other than Jesus Christ, they always fail. And in the end, they bring down any and all who place their trust in them. It's actually the application of our passage. Daniel says, he, this Antichrist, and everyone with him, shall come to his end, and no one will help him. Here's why this is the case. Because you misdiagnosed hell, your core problem, the core source of misery, you've in turn misdefined your remedy, which in turn has led you into the worship of a false Savior, an Antichrist. You know, you will always worship Antichrists if you fail to correctly diagnose what your fundamental problem is. Friend, you can pursue all the riches in this world, believing that at some point they will make you happy, but you'll remain empty. You can tone your legs and flatten your abs and still remain insecure. You can party hard to relieve the pain, but every morning you will wake up feeling a greater sense of agony and emptiness. You can give everything to that cause and still be left believing there has to be something more to your life. While these things are real, in the end, please realize they're nothing more than symptoms of a much deeper ill. I know this will be hard to accept, but it's a truth, and I'm preaching truth. Your problem is you. It's sin. It's a fallenness, a fundamental brokenness within, caused by a separation you have with your Maker. You have a hole that can't be filled with any temporal things. And until you accept that reality, you will spend your entire life filling your life with little idols, powerless to save. But my friend, there is good news. This cancer called sin, the separation with God that you sense, the internal struggles killing you slowly, they are the very things that Jesus is not just able, but came to save you from. He's not a replacement Savior. He's the Savior, the real McCoy. I encourage you, accept the problem, acknowledge the problem. But beyond that, look to your Savior. In Luke 19, we read that today, salvation has come to this house. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which was lost.